I want to tell you something that sounds like an exaggeration, but isn't. I used to spend somewhere between 90 minutes and 2 hours a day on email. Not reading email, writing it. Updates to stakeholders, responses to clients, internal communications to my team, the weekly report, the follow-up that needed to go out but kept getting deprioritized. Now I spend about 20 minutes a day on the same volume of email. The outputs are more consistent, more polished, and frankly better than what I was producing when I was spending 5 times as long on them. This episode is about exactly how that happened and how to build the same system for your own email workload. Quick note before we start. 2 things in the description worth having. The brief, 1 page, is free. Your first week with Claude AI at work is $20. Both links below. Before the system, let's be honest about where the time actually goes when you're writing emails. It's not the typing. Most people can type an email in 5 minutes if they know exactly what they want to say. The time goes to 3 things. First, starting. Staring at a blank email, trying to work out how to open it, how to frame the situation, what to lead with. The blank page problem is real, and it's slow. Second, calibrating tone, especially for anything sensitive, a scope change, a difficult update, a request that might not land well. You write a draft, read it back, decide it sounds too apologetic or too blunt, rewrite it, read it again. That iteration loop eats time. Third, the backlog. The emails you've been meaning to send but haven't because each one requires enough thought that you keep putting it off. They accumulate until there's a pile you dread opening, and clearing that pile takes half a day. Claude AI doesn't make you type faster. It eliminates all 3 of those bottlenecks. Here's the system I use. It has 3 components. A co-work project for each major communication context: clients, internal team, senior stakeholders. Each project holds the standing context: who I'm writing to, what the relationship is like, what tone works, what I should and shouldn't reference. I write that context once. Claude AI holds it permanently. A template brief for each recurring email type: weekly update, client check-in, scope change, difficult news, follow-up after a meeting. Stored somewhere I'll actually use, pinned on my phone. Each one is a fill-in-the-blank structure that takes 30 seconds to complete and produces a strong brief. A batching habit. I don't write emails one at a time throughout the day. I batch them. Twice a day, I open Claude AI, load my co-work project, work through my email backlog in one focused session. What used to take 90 minutes across the day takes 20 minutes in 2 focused blocks. Those 3 components together, co-work context, template briefs, batching, are what produced the 80% time reduction. Remove any one of them and the savings are smaller. Together, they're transformative. Part 1. The 5 email types and how to brief each one. Email type 1, the weekly update. This is the email most professionals dread more than any other. It's recurring, which means the pressure to make it feel fresh is constant. It's visible. Senior stakeholders read it and form opinions based on it. And it often goes out on a Friday afternoon, when your energy is lowest and your backlog is longest. The brief template: weekly update to audience. Who they are, their relationship to the project, what they care about. This week, what was completed, / what's in progress, / what's coming next week. If anything went off track, what happened and what's being done about it. Frame as managed, not alarming, unless it is. Tone: factual and calm, confident, reassuring. Format: brief bullet points per workstream, short narrative, headline plus bullets. Max: half a page, 200 words. Fill that in, send it to Claude AI in your co-work project, and what comes back is a complete weekly update that sounds like it came from you, because the context and the specifics did. The one element that transforms this brief: telling Claude AI exactly how to handle anything that went wrong. Frame the 2-day delay as resolved, not alarming, is the kind of specific direction that produces the right tone without you having to iterate. Email type 2, the difficult email you've been putting off, the scope change, the delay that was partly your fault, the follow-up to a conversation that didn't go well, the request that might not land the way you want it to. These are the emails that accumulate in your draft folder for days. Not because you don't know what to say, because getting the tone exactly right is hard, and the cost of getting it wrong feels high. The brief template: I need to write type of email to recipient, their role, relationship, history. What happened? The situation, specific, including whose responsibility what is. This email needs to acknowledge X, explain Y without sounding defensive, reassure them of Z. Tone: moving toward collaborative, accountable, solution-focused, moving away from defensive, over-apologetic, alarming. Must include any specific details, next steps, commitments. Must avoid anything that would land badly with this person specifically. Length: around X words. The toward away from technique is doing its most important work here. These emails are almost always navigating attention. You need to take responsibility without conceding more than is accurate, or be direct without being harsh. Naming both directions gives Claude AI the guidance to thread that needle. Email type 3, the client check-in during a quiet period. This is the email most people don't send. Not because the relationship doesn't need it, because there's nothing dramatic to report, and drafting something that feels substantive without padding it out feels harder than just waiting until there is news. The brief: check-in email to client, who they are, relationship, what we're working on together. This week was steady but unremarkable. No major wins or issues, just consistent progress. I want the email to feel intentional and warm, not like a placeholder. It should acknowledge the period and where things stand, reinforce that we're on top of it, and reference one specific thing from our last conversation so they know I'm paying attention. Tone: warm and professional. Max 150 words. That last element, referencing something specific from the last conversation, is the personal pass that makes a check-in feel like relationship maintenance rather than box ticking. Claude AI provides the structure. You provide that one detail. Together, it takes 3 minutes to produce an email that does real relationship work. Email type 4, the meeting follow-up. Follows a call or meeting. Needs to land the right notes. What was agreed, what the next steps are, who owns what. Should feel warm and forward-looking, not like minutes from a board meeting. And it needs to go out within a few hours while the conversation is still fresh, which it usually doesn't because you're immediately into the next meeting. The brief: follow up to a blank meeting with blank attendees and their roles. We discussed blank key topics, decisions made, what was agreed, next steps, who does what by when. The meeting went well, productively. There was some tension that I want to smooth over. Tone: warm and forward-looking, professional and clear, relationship reinforcing. The email should feel like a natural extension of the conversation, not a formal record. Max 200 words. Brief this in your co-work project immediately after the meeting, while you're still in the context, and what comes back is a complete follow-up in under 2 minutes. It goes out the same day, which is always better than the next morning. Email type 5, the internal update or team communication. Internal emails get deprioritized, not because they matter less, because the audience is forgiving. Your team knows you're busy. Your colleagues understand that polished communications aren't always possible. So internal updates tend to be rushed, inconsistent, and sometimes don't go out at all. The brief: team update to audience, team size, their relationship to me, what they need to know. This covers key updates, decisions made, things they need to know about, changes to how we're working. Tone: direct and warm. These are people I work closely with. Keep it brief. They're busy too. Format: short narrative, bullet points, headline plus detail. Max 150 words, half a page. Internal emails are where the consistency argument is strongest. Your team's confidence in you is partly built on whether you communicate reliably and clearly. A team that consistently receives clear, well-structured internal communications operates differently from one that's left to piece things together themselves. Part 2. The batching system that makes it stick. The template briefs are what make individual emails faster. Batching is what produces the 20-minute week. Here's the math. If you have 8 emails to write and you tackle them one at a time throughout the day, opening Claude AI, finding the right project, writing the brief, reading the output, making a direction, finalizing, each one takes 5 to 7 minutes, including the context switching cost. 8 emails takes 45 minutes to an hour, scattered across the day. If you batch the same 8 emails into 2 sessions, 4 in the morning, 4 late afternoon, the context switching cost drops to near zero. You're already in your co-work project. You're already in brief writing mode. You move from one email to the next in under a minute. 8 emails takes 20 minutes. Same volume, same quality, 1/3 of the time. The only difference is when and how you do it. Building the batching habit takes about 2 weeks. Here's how to do it. Week 1. Identify your 2 email windows. Most professionals have a natural morning window, first 30 minutes at their desk before the day gets away from them, and a late afternoon window, after the last meeting, before end of day. Block both. Even 15 minutes each is enough. Week 2. Use those windows only for batched Claude AI email work, not for reading email, not for responding to things in the inbox directly. Open your co-work project, work through your email list, brief and send in sequence. After 2 weeks, the habit is set. You stop thinking about email as something that happens to you throughout the day and start treating it as a task you do intentionally in specific windows. The emails are better because you're focused. The day is calmer because you're not being pulled into reactive email mode every 20 minutes. The final piece, the co-work project context that makes every brief shorter. When you open a co-work project to write an email brief, Claude AI already knows who you are, what organization you're in, who the key people are and what they care about, what tone works for each communication context, and what you should and shouldn't include, which means your brief doesn't need to include any of that. Instead of, I'm a communications manager at a 40-person financial services firm, writing to my COO, who is commercially focused and reads things in the first 10 seconds or she loses interest, you just write, weekly update to Sarah. That compression is what takes a 5-minute brief down to a 30-second brief. And a 30-second brief for 8 emails is 4 minutes of brief writing, not 40. That's where the 20-minute week comes from. Here's what a 20-minute email session actually looks like. Open co-work. Load the client communications project. The context is already there. Email 1. Weekly update to Northbridge. Database migration completed. UI testing 2 days behind but resolved. Go live confirmed. Calm and factual. Half a page. 30 seconds. Output comes back. One direction. Finalized. 2 minutes. Email 2. Follow up to yesterday's call with the ops director. We agreed on the revised scope. They're sending the sign-off by Thursday. I'll have the updated timeline to them by Friday. Warm and forward-looking. 150 words. 30 seconds. Output comes back. Looks right. Finalized. 90 seconds. Email 3. Check into the CFO. Quiet week, but on track. Reference that she mentioned the board presentation in our last call. Wanted to flag we're preparing for that. Warm. 100 words. 30 seconds. Personalized in review. 2 minutes. 6 emails. 18 minutes. All polished. All sent. Here's the counterintuitive part of this. The emails produced by this system are better than the ones I was producing when I was spending 5 times as long on them. Not marginally better, noticeably better. More consistent structure, more appropriate tone, clearer in what they're asking the reader to do, less likely to accidentally sound defensive or rushed or apologetic when none of those things were intended. That improvement comes from the brief, because writing a strong brief forces you to crystallize exactly what the email needs to do before Claude AI writes it. The thinking that used to happen while you were drafting now happens in the brief. It's better thinking because it's more deliberate. The time saving and the quality improvement come from the same source. The brief is the thing. Here's your challenge for this episode. Count the emails you need to write this week. not the ones you'll respond to reactively, the ones you need to proactively produce. Updates, follow-ups, check-ins, difficult conversations, internal communications. Write template briefs for the types that recur most often in your list. Save them. Then batch all of this week's emails into one focused Claude AI session. Work through them in sequence using your cowork project. Track how long it takes. Compare it to how long the same volume would normally take. That number is your argument for building this permanently. Quick reference: the system in one picture. 3 components: cowork context per communication relationship, template brief per recurring email type, batching habit with 2 focused daily windows. 5 email types: weekly update, difficult email, client check-in, meeting follow-up, internal team update. The one element that matters most, the toward/away from technique on any email where tone is the challenge. Name the tension, both directions. That's where Claude AI does its best work. 2 things in the description. The brief, 1 page, free. The email brief template plus 4 other task types on 1 printable sheet. Print it. It goes next to your keyboard. Your first week with Claude AI at work, $20. Day 3 has the full email workflow template library, all 5 types with worked examples. Day 2 walks through the cowork project setup that makes the brief compression possible. Both links in the description. Via Claude for Lawyers on Gumroad, same creator. That's episode 9. Cowork context, template briefs, batching, 20 minutes, better outputs than before, serious skills, actual output, every time. See you in the next one.